My gut tells me that they were ambushed.
So, I had assumed this whole time for 6 months now that it happened in the middle of the night.
And now we know it was the middle of the day. Absolutely.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
I don't want to get her involved in this. I don't want to get her life. Like, if something like this, I don't want her involved in this. Okay.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
You're the one that filed the missing persons report.
Yeah, and I'll totally come forward with that.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Kelly take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was a...
How do you deal with it? I had to sneak the other day when I was with Josie. I had to sneak and talk to him. Like, I had to sneak and talk to him about his sister.
Makes me think the worst. Like, did you do that to all three of them?
Hey everyone, thank you for joining me again for another live stream in the afternoon while the baby's napping. I kind of had to squeeze this one in just because, I put up a video about the lead investigator talking about things this week, and then we had the district attorney speak out, and it was just like I already had other notes and stuff like that in regards to stuff happening in the Summer Wells case, that this just is sort of, I'm still processing everything pretty much. I'm still processing the lead investigator. I don't know about you guys, but processing that still. I'm processing the district attorney speaking out. I've got my head spinning, like, are these just tactics to use to kind of put heat under Grandis and Candace's butts, and maybe even Dom? But hello, Punksy and Crazy Crime Chick. I saw Amanda here. Hey, girl. Georgie, Wackadoodle, Kristen C. I saw numerous people here. Ambi, Karen, and Mr. Tomato Head, Rebecca, and I just want to thank everyone that speaks to me behind the scenes, my mods, and just real great, web sleuths and supporters that just want to get answers in this case. I just feel like at this point, with it almost being at the year mark, there's, time is running out as far as Candace being free. Like, I just feel like they're building a case to do some sort of charges any way, shape, or form. Hi, Carolina. Jody, what do you guys think? Like, do you think that obviously they have hopes to find her? Like, that's why they're still doing these searches. They've come up with no luck. The lead investigator insinuated something about feeling like she's nearby. Then we have like the talk about from Benny Keys saying that Candace told him that law enforcement told her that they know that she left the property twice, like her phone has pinged nearby, etc. I just wanted to also discuss some stuff about, guys, I have so many notes, like you don't even know. I guess we could just start with the visual of the district attorney's interview. It's pretty much the interview that everyone sort of read out last night and yesterday, but this is just the video form that WJHL uploaded. I've edited too, so I'll pull that up and we'll look at that. I wish district attorney elaborated on what periodic updates means. Weekly updates, monthly updates. Yeah. Mr. Tomato Head. Did I say Potato Head? Sorry. Yeah, I felt like it was very strange, sort of, to have the district attorney speak out, without there being charges, because, his job is the legal matter. His job is the paper trail as far as, legalities and what they can prosecute whoever on. So for him to kind of speak out when there's no charges being applied thus far, I thought it was sort of strange. I don't know, because like normally in other cases and in other situations, the district attorney kind of just stays quiet and then speaks out like once something is coming down as far as like legally, like they have something to charge him on. I'll play this clip, but Amanda, you said Candace had been quiet. I have a timestamp last night in Benny Key's live stream. This is what's weird, guys, and we'll get into it too. I'm waiting for CDT, but she's been running all over today. She had to go to urgent care for her finger. Something is infected, and she'll be joining us though. But there was 3 hours, and again, the live stream last night on Benny's channel was very intellectually stimulating. There was a lot of different guests on, John Q, Grizzly, True Crime. It was just really interesting. Killer Looks was very, just everything that they were saying, I was just feeling it. There was hardly any drama talk. It was just all these really smart, people theorizing last night, and Killer Looks and Mrs. Killer Looks were on, and the glare was on, and everyone was just theorizing, and it really got my brain working. So I definitely recommend checking that out. And I know people feel the way that they do about certain creators, but like I'm just here for the information. And if you guys want interesting theories and stuff like that, it was a 5-hour live stream, but I've marked down some timestamps that we can go through. But basically, Amanda, Candace calls Benny last night, and then he missed it. And she was on last night for a brief moment, like it was 5 hours long, and it was just even if you just took your mouse and stopped it at random spots, you would find something that caught your ear. There was another woman that was on there. Gosh, I cannot remember her name, but pretty much she was there the entire time with Benny during his visits, and she kind of got to see behind closed doors of what it was like at Ben Hill Road, like with the dynamics of the family. So that was really interesting to listen to, I got a timestamp for that. But Candace called Benny during the live stream, and he missed it. And so he calls her back live, and she's like, what? Like denied ever calling him. Okay. Hello.
Hello. How are you? And hello to everyone in chat.
What's up?
Not much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just like, my mind is all over the place. So I'm so glad you joined me, because my notes are like days old. Like from the moment the lead investigator spoke out, I had things going on in my head to jot down. Like for one, he looked extremely exhausted, in my opinion. But then like the district attorney, everything else. I also have a Rogersville Review article that I kind of pre-recorded me reading, and I found it interesting. It's different from the other one I sent you today, CDT. This one is from July 21st last year, and I just found it really interesting. So I want to play that for you guys too after I play the district attorney clip, which I'm sure you guys have seen, but I'll just put it together. So yeah, I guess I'll, since you're here, I'll just get started with the visuals. And Mr. Tomato had said, did they bring up Benny and Tim talking about how Candace called 911 at 4:30? Interesting. No, they might have. Again, it was 5 hours long. So I was just kind of like popping around and found like interesting stuff. But maybe she butt dialed him crazy. I don't know, but it was so bizarre. But we'll listen to that. They called Candace last night on Benny's, because she apparently called him It was very strange, and it was at a very strange time in the live stream. Like, they were getting deep into theory of an accident taking place on the property, and then all of a sudden they kind of got like distracted by like Candace calling them, and he had to call her back and see what was up. It was just very weird timing. But okay, let me get this going and get started. Again, thank you for being here, CDT, and everyone in chat.
Yeah, of course. And I'm interested to see what you clipped, because we talked a little this morning, but I watched some of Benny's last night, and I did the same, just kind of skipped around. But yeah, that one lady who, and I don't remember her name either. I want to say maybe Sharon, or I don't know, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it was interesting just to hear her experience, on Ben Hill Road, and like how Dawn was missing while she was there. They'd wanted to file a missing report on him, but then when the police came, Candace wasn't telling them all she knew about how this was a regular thing and where he might be. I don't know. It was just really interesting to hear the dynamics of all that. But yeah, I definitely want to watch more of it.
Sounds like they were doing more pranks on. Yes. Because that woman went out there. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
She went out there obviously to help, and was put on like this wild goose chase, pretty much, of like emotions. Like, Don's missing, and then like you said, wouldn't actually help them find him. Like, didn't want them to find him in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you say something about how she had said something about how Candace said Summer might be in some crack houses?
Yeah, so she said when she asked Candace, where would he be? She mentioned Knoxville. And she said, well, where in Knoxville? And Candace said, Cracktown. And the lady was like, of course, there's no real place called Cracktown that you're going to find on a map. But then she said that, yeah, Candace at one point said that she wanted to go to that area in Knoxville where Dawn would go and go look in the hotels for Summer to see if she was in kind of some crack house, basically. But then later on, she said, well, Candace Candace said, no, that's not where Summer would be, and kind of took that back. But that's just not, for a missing mother to say that, even if she's going to take it back later, it's just very odd. And obviously that's kind of what, Benny and her were talking about, just the strange behavior of the Wells.
Right. And it just sounds like a joke to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The night of June 15th, District
And so we put out.
Sorry, the volume is a little loud. So just so chat knows, you might want to turn it down just a little bit. But yeah, this is just the DA on camera.
On the night of June 15th, District Attorney General Armstrong called in the TBI to help with the search efforts for Summer Wells. Now, almost 10 months later and no real developments, this case is unlike anything he's ever worked before.
The sheriff will contact other law enforcement agencies, and but under the way the TBI is set up, I have to make the formal request for the TBI. So the sheriff, when in this particular case, he had called and asked for help from all the agencies, and then called me, and I asked the TBI to get involved.
The long-spanning search for Summer Wells can feel like a blur, but the night of June 15th is clear as day, just as the call to issue an Amber Alert on the 16th.
An Amber Alert is where a child is missing from either the person that's supposed to have legal custody of them or their parents. And so we put out the Amber Alert to alert everybody, including citizens. If you have a cell phone, your phone will go off on Amber Alerts, so you can be on the lookout and help us spot this child if the child happens to show up in your area.
No one has been charged in relation to Summer's disappearance, but that doesn't mean the district attorney isn't involved.
My role basically is just to be an advisor as to any legal issues that may come up during the search, who to talk to, how to go about doing that. I am kept briefed periodically, not every day, but periodically, and just available to provide any legal assistance that I can.
As law enforcement is flooded with tips and the seasons change, small-scale searches have taken place in the Beach Creek area.
We follow leads as they come in, and so at this point you're basically down to just following whatever leads come in and following up, maybe trying to backtrack and do some things you did before to see if anything comes of it.
The most recent ground search back in February didn't bring anything, and right now there isn't another one planned. Coming up tonight at 6, you'll hear more from District Attorney General Armstrong about his role in the investigation and how it impacts the possibility of future charges.
But what happens when there's nothing to prosecute?
Tonight, we continue our investigation into finding out what happened to Summer Wells. Ansley Daniels spoke with District Attorney General Dan Armstrong in his first interview about the case and what his role is almost 10 months in when no one has been charged.
On the night of June 15th, District Attorney General Dan Armstrong called in the TBI to help with the search for Summer Wells in the Beech Creek community. Now, as the 10-month mark is approaching, his role is looking ahead to the possibility of charges.
It's a case that has implications of the legal system and the law, but you couldn't classify it right now as there's no criminal charges been filed.
Summer's older brothers were put into CPS custody last July, but no charges have been filed over their removal. However, their father, Don Wells, is serving time in the Hawkins County Jail over DUI and violation of probation charges.
This is a very complicated issue that has been made more complicated by the players in this drama.
No one has been arrested or charged in relation to the little girl's disappearance, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen at some point.
We make ourselves available to both the Sheriff's Office and the TBI to advise them as to the consequences of the next step that they're proposing to take and how we can do it to where if there is eventually a prosecution, it'll be what they gather will be something that would be that we could introduce in a court. Make sure we cover all those bases. And
if an arrest ever does take place, that's when Armstrong will look at what charges can be filed.
If it ever got to the point where we were ready to consider charges, then of course they would talk to me about what charges and who to charge. And a case like this would generally go to a grand jury if it ever got to that point.
Armstrong declined to comment about Don Wells' current legal troubles. Even though he stays in touch with law enforcement about where they're at in this investigation, he's almost at a standstill in his particular role.
So what I pulled...
If you took her, just bring her.
Okay, yeah. This is the beginning of the Rogersville Review article that I want to revisit, because I just feel like with things being talked about, not only did we talk about, the lead investigator speaking out this week and then the district attorney, there's been a lot of visiting the idea that the boys had some sort of involvement. So I just figured that I would, like everyone else has sort of been doing, went back to the beginning and remember Don with that son, Josie, in that one interview. I decided, instead of watching Don with that, I decided to visit whatever statements they have from Candace. So there is some written article in the Rogersville Review on July 21st where she spoke with them. And a lot of it sounds a lot of what she said to Chris McDonough. But then there was some things in between that I found interesting and just, flat out contradictions of what has continued to be talked about, like from Candace. Like she says something about H and Allie and all that. Like when you guys listen to it, you'll understand. But actually what I want to do is put this article in chat and you guys can read along. Sometimes you see things that stick out better in words than me reading it. Hi D Irish and Robin and everyone else who joined. So anyways, back to the district attorney before we move on. Like, I just feel like at this point it was strange for him to come out seeing as the we don't have any charges, like his job is to provide the law aspect of Law and Order. You know what I mean? Like his job isn't to investigate or search for this missing child. So it was just sort of weird to me, and I don't know how you feel, CDT, but the district attorney coming out, it was just kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I think the timing is interesting because April is the month, isn't it? The month where they do their
apparently
indictments.
Hawkins County does their grand jury indictments the 11th of April.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's just like we had the lead investigator and we all were talking about that. And then all of a sudden now the DA, two people who we had not heard at all from. And suddenly at the beginning of April, they're both coming out and speaking. And I don't know, just the way the DA, like his wording and stuff, really makes me feel like they are going to eventually have charges for something. I don't know.
Yeah,
About
and when
the
he
time
said
frame, but
something about like getting periodic updates from law enforcement, to me that means, because think about it, this district attorney's job isn't to find out what happened. The district attorney's job is to convict whoever is being charged. You know what I mean? Law enforcement is supposed to be finding out where she is and what happened. All the district attorney is going to do is give law enforcement, like, they're in communication and law enforcement is calling them saying, we're going out on a search. We'll let you know if we find anything. Obviously, they haven't found much. So whenever they talk to the DA is probably just going to say, like, come back to me when you have evidence. Reach back out when you got something solid. And that's pretty much the gist of the communication between law enforcement and the district attorney, I feel. Like the district attorney isn't interested in even all the stuff that Candace has said that's been contradictive, because in a courtroom, all that can sort of be explained by whoever is Candace's defendant or whoever is being charged defendant, or defense lawyer for them being the defendant. So,
yeah.
The DA is pretty much all they want to do is like, okay, well, I need something more solid. I need this body. Well, they don't have the body. Other cases, they've gone after parents without the body, like the Orson West boys. Casey Anthony, they ended up finding the body like while she was still dealing with legal repercussions, I believe. Like they had gone after her without it, I feel, at first, like on certain things. I can't remember the logistics 100%, but I've seen people kind of point out that Megan Boswell, is that correct?
Yeah, that's her name. Mm-hmm.
They charged her for lying and all this stuff. And it's like, but they had the child's body. So it can happen, but I feel like the district attorney isn't going to put this out there in a jury that has, 12 people that he's got to persuade to think that his story is legit, so he's going to look at the timeline that doesn't add up. He's probably got the 911 call that they're keeping secret. They're using that probably against them. They're going to use the pings because allegedly Candace left the place twice. But I think that they're holding out in hopes of like finding her. So that's why, it's almost 10 months. Yes. But the Orrin Olson West thing, it took like a year and people were like, when are they going to be charged?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I agree. Like they can't just they don't want to, charge and try to prosecute a case and not have enough evidence to, make it go anywhere. So yeah, I think they're either holding out in hopes of finding Summer or just continuing to comb through and try to get everything ready when they're ready to move forward. But yeah, not having her found is not, it's just so odd. Like where is she?
Right.
Yeah, child neglect
and that's the thing, Amanda, is child neglect and lying to investigators would likely be their route. Exactly. And I feel like that they've come at them, and you'll see once I play this audio, from day one, it seems as though TBI has used the whole she wandered off as a means to charge them with child neglect. That's why they keep saying she would never run off. She would never wander off. Like she very well could have wandered off at this point. I'm almost thinking like those little, now it's to the point where it's like deeper than where is Summer, what happened to her. Like I know like we want to know those things, but now with the district attorney speaking out and saying that he's been in touch with them and like he's at a standstill, Like, I just feel like they are at a point where it's like, we can't just let Candace make a fool of us, but we can't just jump on her, with this she wandered off theory. But for a long time, it seems like that's where they've kind of like put under the pressure of Candace being neglectful on that day. So I do think that they will go that route, but it's sort of like the district attorney's last resort. Like, he's like, yes, we'll probably charge them with that, but he's thinking, if you can find her and present me some physical evidence, like, I would really rather do that, because like, this is the district attorney, like, convictions are what matter, and they're not trying to go up against everything without solid evidence, so when he's in hopes of finding a body, that's why he's sort of just like in arm's reach of law enforcement and saying that, like, I'll give them advice on legal aspects, because they're probably coming at him periodically saying, like, we still haven't found her, but it seems like we're going through phone records and this and this isn't lining up with her verbal statements, but it's like so hard, because if it is just against like their timeline they've given and the 911 call, like, I feel like a defense attorney could still argue and explain those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like they don't quite have enough, or I don't know. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, because if they were to charge, they'd obviously at least have court-appointed attorneys, and yeah, without physical evidence, it would be hard to charge two people with homicide or being responsible for her whole disappearance.
Right, and I'm also wondering, since they're the boys' statements are probably very vital, that they're trying to approach it in like a way of like getting information from the boys where like they're not coming at them aggressively. Like, law enforcement has to handle the boys' statements with delicacy and care. They need to make sure that the defense can't argue anything that Josie or anyone else says, like, they can't say, oh, he was tired that night, he made that statement to you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be things, the boys' statements are definitely going to be key, and they matter in this building of a case, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because, in the Joe Clyde Daniels case, I don't know if it was his full brother or stepbrother, but he did testify at the trial of the father. And it was just interesting to watch him.
Right. And that's in the West Boys case, the statements from the other children were what really got them to arrest the parents, because and that took time. Like, you can't just be like, child neglect, you're coming with us, you lied, you're coming with us, without the body. They could do that with Megan Boswell because they found her little one's body. And it's just I just don't understand. That's why they've been so adamant. She didn't wander off. She was abducted. The reason why they've been saying she was abducted, because I think once they started getting questioning by law enforcement was saying, you were drunk that day. We have a statement from H saying this and that. You neglected that child. You were too messed up that day. You picked up pain pills. Like, they probably went after Candace and Grandis and Don, in the interrogation room, and made them feel like they were going to get child neglect charges, And so they've been like, no, she was taken, because obviously it wouldn't be your fault as a parent if your child was just abducted.
Yeah.
I mean, given the circumstances, I guess you would see more of like less to blame if your child was preyed on and abducted by someone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they just keep reiterating, no sign of abduction, no sign of stranger abduction. She possibly wandered off. I don't think they believe she possibly wandered off. I think that they're just thinking we might have to just go that route in the courtroom because we can get them for neglect.
Right.
I don't think that law enforcement literally thinks she wandered off. I think it's strategic, and I think it's, in a way, the district attorney is saying to law enforcement, like, okay, well, we got to go this route if you want to charge them with this. You know what I mean? Because how are you going to charge a parent for neglect if they were abducted? Like, that would just be, it would be very difficult, because 12 people on the jury would be like, you know, half of them might feel sorry for the situation if that's the route they decided to accept and take. But they've just been saying over and over, no sign of abduction.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, you can say that neglect led to the abduction. But again, like you said, when you're trying to bring charges, you need more. I mean, they can't right now prove what exactly was happening on the hill when they returned home or whatever, you know. But the pings, the data, all of that are going to be and are so vital to all of this, I feel.
Yes. And, you know, they're telling the district attorney, this is the timeline the mother has given us. This is her forensics of her dad or her phone. And he's probably coming up with his own like theory, you know, like the district attorney isn't sitting there at night thinking, what happened? Where is she? The district attorney is thinking, what can I build? What story and what narrative is the courtroom going to accept that will paint this perpetrator as the one that is responsible? You know what I mean? Like, he might come up with something that is absolutely nothing close to what really happened. At this point, I don't think Don, Candace, or Grandis are going to speak the truth. So it's the district attorney's job to be like, what can I do? How creative can I get, pretty much, with what I have? And right now he's probably feeling like, I don't feel comfortable going out there trying to spin this based off of a 911 call, a timeline, 2 pings. Like, please come at me when you find her. And I think that they're holding out for more hope. But then you hear in this clip that they have no scheduled search again. So I don't know. I feel like Echo Search has got to get back down there.
Yeah. I know, like, we're obviously not privy to the why, but I just really wonder what led them back to that location at the end of February.
Right. I kind of wanted to pull up JLR's video of that, because he kind of shows exactly where they were.
Right.
Let me
But
see.
yeah, I just wonder. And then, you know, hearing the investigator say nothing points to an abduction or that she was trafficked out of the area and that he feels she's close was just very interesting to me. Yeah, Superhero says Dawn repeatedly saying they'll never find the evidence. Where did it go? Means they know she didn't wander off. Yeah. I'm personally not of the belief that she wandered off. I think most people know that, but that's just me.
Yeah, I've reached the point, especially hearing from the district attorney, like, although I obviously do want to know what happened to her, and I will still search for those answers, I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? Let's just go with she wandered off if that's what's going to stick for a type of charge. Because I'm confident enough, even though, you know, I do believe that you are innocent until proven guilty. I'm confident enough to know that there was neglect going on. As soon as the last, you know, she was showing pictures, just look at Summer, the last 6 months of her life. I mean, before she went missing, you can just see her deteriorating as like a person, not even just the shaved head. Like, she looks, you know, starved pretty much. I'm confident in knowing that, like, whatever they were doing to her, from what everything we've gathered from neighbors and who the neighbors are, as far as like what records they have and children and what records the children have, like, it just seems like Summer was surrounded by not so great people. And I just feel like at this point, it's like, you know what? Let's just get her for neglect, lying to federal agents during a missing child disappearance, you know, whatever we can get, because even though, like, I don't know, I just feel like Candace has dug herself her own hole. Like, it's not just YouTubers who are picking apart some mother. Like, she's on her own YouTube acting a fool. And I had written down in my notes, she was actively trying to sleep with Benny Keys. She was actively trying, and I believe is still trying to get with Ernie. I feel like she definitely tried to get with H. If she for sure did or didn't, we don't know, but I think she did. This person is just demented on so many levels, like even on like a sexual, like why she would think it's appropriate to kind of hit on all these men. And boy, I just don't understand it.
And I really wonder just how Candace is feeling. Not, like last night, Benny had that live and there were a lot of people watching. It has a lot of views this morning. The views are going to continue to climb. People are going to discuss it. And all throughout that live, I mean, Benny, and not even last night, it's been going on for a little while now, where Benny Keys, who was, her friend, her confidant, her supporter, this and that, spent time with her in her home, is pleading with her to come clean and tell the truth. In the chat, there were different opinions going through the chat, but I would say, the majority of people are like, Candace, tell the truth, tell the truth. We know, I think she was watching. Like you said, she called. So yeah, I just wonder like how she's dealing with now. She's not going on YouTube and having fun with Benny. Benny's now exposing her. Basically, he showed text messages where she was wanting to dance with him and, inappropriate behavior. So I just wonder what's kind of going on in her mind right now with kind of the tides turning.
And, I had mixed feelings about Jose coming out, like, because it was a lot to process too. But now I'm like starting to think, and I'm like, it gives you sort of a timeline of what things were happening within the last year before Summer went missing, like on Ben Hill Road, the 911 call in October, the 911 call in September from Allie, Don coming back, Jose leaving. It just seemed like, and CPS was on their way to stop by, It just seemed like to me, and if she did or didn't have that falling out with Allie, I don't know. It seemed like things did get damaged when Jose left or whatever. I don't know when exactly their falling out occurred. I feel like you do, they were still kind of close for whatever reason, but not as close. I don't know. But with Summer kind of looking like she was being neglected just in pictures, I'm like thinking more and more that, we hear from Benny that the week before Summer went missing, Don went out on a crack binge and purchased a huge amount of crack at the time. And I'm like, the more I'm thinking about it, the more neglect and an accident almost does make sense, because you start realizing, like, obviously they weren't taking care of their child. She's very thin. She looks, maybe it was true Allie was buying all the food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then Jose was cooking and stuff. And I'm just thinking, once Allie and Jose were gone and the children really were in the care of just Don, Candace, and Grandis, it just seems like they really weren't being taken care of well. I don't know. And I'm like, is this really an issue with drugs and an accident did occur of some sort and it's being hidden because they were messed up at the time,
Yeah.
And that was like sort of what they were kind of talking about last night. Like, it just seems like the addiction was in full swing for both parents. And it's like, of course, your chances of an accident taking place are heightened when, obviously the adults in the situation aren't paying attention. But then you also have to add in the fact that the property allegedly was just dangerous in itself. So it's just like you add in just a dangerous living conditions and parents who are not well, like as far as sobriety, and it's for me, I'm like thinking more and more like, did something happen? And then, you know, people have talked about Candace left to meet Don with Summer. You know what I mean? Let me play this JLR thing. I'm going to run upstairs and grab my charger. But yeah, I agree, D. Irish. Her behavior now is just very questionable. Like, I know some people behave differently in given the circumstances, but the last thing I'd be worried about is who I'm going to hook up with. And it's just unsettling to think, like, I just don't understand like how she could even be thinking about like being with men right now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's odd. I mean, first of all, she's married, but apparently they don't really take what's the word, fidelity. I know there's infidelity, but being faithful, they obviously. But yeah, I agree. It's not appropriate in my opinion, and it doesn't help my feelings about her at all. That's just me though. But yeah, don't feel it's appropriate.
Yeah, I agree. Hold on. So this was few weeks ago, and allegedly JLR is where TBI searched last, in case you guys haven't seen this.
Is AKA JLR. Justice for Summer Wells. Justice for Summer Wells. It has now been over 9 months since Summer Wells went missing. She went missing last June 15th, 2021. We are now in March 2022. It's been over 9 months. Where is Summer Wells? Is George Andy Bernard involved with the Summer Wells disappearance? As a lot of you guys already know, George Andy Bernard is a neighbor that lived across the street from Don and Candace Wells on Ben Hill Road. Recently, authorities were searching again for Summer Wells. This time, they were searching about 2 miles away from the Wells home on Field Road and Bell Road. That is, you know, if you go out onto Beach Creek, which is the main road there. If you go out on Beach Creek, coming from Ben Hills, leaving the Wells home, you make a left, go down there about 2 miles away. Right across the street is the Mount Carmel Church. And then there's Fields Road and Bell Road. Authorities were focusing in that area.
I just realized also if Ahmad could link JLR's channel, I just realized, did he just say that they were searching down near that church? Because I feel like Candace said something about when she did leave to look around, she drove down to that like church area.
Yeah, she does mention driving near a church, so that's interesting for sure. And he said this is about 2 miles from their home.
And again, this search area was in, I believe, the opposite direction of the alleged footprints.
Area. Andy Bernard, George Andy Bernard's family lives right there in that area on Fields Road. So it's interesting. You know, a lot of people were saying that the day Summer Wells went missing on June 15th, 2021, that George Andy Bernard was there when Don Wells arrived at the end of the day. George Andy Bernard has a prior conviction for having a dwelling, drugs inside a dwelling. I don't know the actual charge, but basically selling drugs out of his home or having drugs inside his home. So he's a shady character. I left him a message about 2 months ago and I said, where is Summer Wells? On Facebook, I left him a message and he immediately blocked me. You know, maybe that's because, you know, a lot of people are asking him where Summer Wells is, or is he trying to hide something? You know, police never said, you know, TBI or
I just have to pause it because I feel like it could go either way for JLR. Like,
Yeah.
is he being blocked because he knows something, or is he like seeing that it's JLR and he's like, this guy again, or this guy? I've heard
Not
about him.
dealing with this.
But it is interesting, you know, because if you have nothing to hide and this guy's a media source, whether it's YouTube or not, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's not like he said, like, my lawyer says I shouldn't talk to you. He just blocked him.
Right. Yeah, and I'm with you. Like that, I feel could go either way. Like in the perfect world, you would think, oh yeah, he would talk or answer questions, but at the same time, I can also see it from the other side for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing too is these people might not have anything to do with what happened on the 15th of June, but they have illegal ties or something nefarious connecting them to the wells, you know, and again, we use the term over and over, like a lot of moving parts, but I think that that is true in this case, that there might be so many different things going on. Oh, it's not Mr. Tomato Head. Oh, I thought Michelle After Dark said it was in a different direction of the footprints. Do you
I'm
know,
not
like,
sure either way.
right? I mean, honestly, and I have things written in my notes, like arguing with the theory that she wandered off. But like I said earlier, now I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? If we just got to get charges on these people, I'm confident that we can charge them with the neglect, and they very well could have like other charges that could be added on. But at the very least, I'm willing to just agree that she wandered off if we can get her for neglect. You know, I don't think that that's what happened, and I don't think law enforcement thinks that's what happened.
Right. Yeah, but I see where you're going with that thought process
Yeah.
for sure.
Because I feel like that's where the district attorney's thought process is at this point. They're asking him, what can we do? And he's saying, well, obviously the child wasn't being watched. I guess we could try neglect.
Hawkins County Sheriff never said that he's a suspect. Also never, cleared him. If he is a suspect, is he involved? Was he around that day? Did he do something with Don Wells or Candace Bly or Grandis Harrer? Did he dispose of Summer Wells? Did he help and assist in any way, or did he act, on his own? Don Wells has been very adamant saying that meth people and drug people kidnapped Summer. Was it George Andy Bernard? They were recently searching by his family home, Fields Road, Bell Road, Hawkins County, Tennessee, Rogersville. Where's Summer Wells? It's been over 9 months. She needs to be found. We need to end this. Justice for Summer Wells. Still out here looking at the case. I'm still monitoring the case, doing, my part. So if you know any information about the whereabouts of Summer Wells, please contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 1-800-TBI-FIND. Let's bring Summer Wells home. God bless. Everyone stay safe.
I hadn't even heard that Bernard guy's name before, so interesting. But
okay, yeah. So that I just wanted to show where the search was. According to Michelle After Dark, she's saying, hold on, let me actually pull it up because she made this a few hours ago and I watched it, but I was busy with the baby, so I might not have heard correctly. But she did an interesting video. And thank you guys for being here today.
A screenshot from one of their lives I've just taken, and they said that the footprints are kind of in this general vicinity here. Okay, I've been a little bit more specific on my map and just added a little bit more detail, but the full credit goes to them. You see this comment here from Penny from True Crime Commentary. I heard the dogs alerted on Fred's property. Fred Hill did talk about scent alerts when he spoke to Ziggy, but Fred Hill, number one jokester, number one prankster. Anyway, Fred Hill lives further down Ben Hill, somewhere around here. So I then developed my map, and I've added a little bit of detail to this. So what you see here is that I think this is the aircraft. I don't know if it's the aircraft or the helicopter from one of the searches, one of the later searches. This would have been from November, early December, that search. And the air search went round and round and round this area. This is 110 Ben Hill Road. And they went round and round and round this area with a helicopter, with drones. And they'd done that in the first search. In the third search, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago now, they concentrated a little bit further out, and I'll show you that in a moment. So here, this is my map. I've got 110 Ben Hill Road, got the dog trail. I've just put in pointers roughly where things.
Okay, so she was just talking about the footprints, and then she said their most recent search focused on a much farther out. And then she ends up going into it again about where it was.
Have been talked about. Now, I don't believe that Summer went down the dog trail and was abducted from Ben Hill Road. I don't believe that. But there was a scent that was followed down one of the trails. Dave Rader says the driveway. I'm going to believe Dave Rader. And they lost it on the road. Now, I talked about that the other day, so I'm not going to talk about that again. This is Jodie Sue's cabin. I have this here because Jodie Sue heard the scream, and just to show you the vicinity of this. And then the footprints, I've just put them in the general vicinity, right? So I don't know specifically where the footprints were. I know what properties they were on. I knew this one from day one, but Cam's been really helpful in telling us where the second footprints were. And I've just dropped these kind of on the outer rim of the properties, like the property markers. But it doesn't mean to say the footprints were here or were here. They could be here and they could be here. This is quite high. This is a ridge along here. You can't see it on this map, but this is high. The footprints could be further down. It could be here. It could be here. It could be here. We don't know. Or at least I don't know. There was another scent alert in this vicinity here where a dog actually laid down and, you know, just was so intent on that. So does that mean that Summer, as I've speculated, as Cam and Ali from Cracking Cases have speculated, that Summer was taken, was carried, because there wasn't a track or a trail of either footprints or a dog following a trail? These are isolated areas, you know, very close. This is less than a mile to the furthest point, right? Less than a mile. And then between them, there's probably about, I think 0.4 miles, Cam said. I've measured it myself, and it comes to, I think that comes to from Ben Hill Road down here to this property is 0.8. And then to this, I think is 0.4. I have measured it. I think I've got a map with it on, but anyway. So we don't know the direction of travel. Was Summer taken down here? Was Summer then taken here? Was Summer taken here and then off on Beach Creek? Or, as I've speculated, road, and that's where they were gone at the same distance that way, like east, like northeast. Whether they went this way, I think they focused on this area specifically. You know, that's just under a mile, because they thought Summer was here, but she isn't here. She is right. So, you know, she's saying like they focus there, but she's not there. So then she goes into showing where on this map that search was, where JLR pretty much was last. Isn't there? She isn't there. Right, we know she's not there because look at the amount of searches that have gone on. And in the last search, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago now, which not that one. This is a screenshot that I've taken of my own working PowerPoint. In the last search, they went up here. This is Fields Road. It's just a bit further down than Mount Carmel. Fields Road into Bell Road, and that's where they were searching. So if you look at where their footprints are, that's the furthest point of where the footprints could be. Then they started to search further down. You know, if they're working on the premise that she wasn't abducted, she wandered off, then she could have easily wandered like 2 miles, and this is over 2 miles, and they've gone back up here. Now, from here, so you guys can visit her channel and look at more of that. But D. Irish said only David Rader has confirmed these footprints. He pretty much said that it was a rumor that he heard when he came into town. And then we've concluded that maybe they found footprints, but here's the thing. Here we are now. It didn't bring us anything. It was a lead at the time, but I just feel like it's nothing to cling to, because over and over you keep hearing from law enforcement, no sign of abduction. But
So that was pretty much the area that they were focusing on a few weeks ago. So that was sort of like a visual to see where they're looking at. And then I think this article is when Candace speaks about how she drove down to the church. So let me just play that for you guys. So did you have anything to add before I play that?
Not really. I'm gonna have to watch that for myself. That was interesting. And then just that comment from True Crime Commentary about Fred Hill's property. I mean, things like that, you just wonder, like, where did that come from? Because with Don, I get confused between Fred Hill or Frank Light. But isn't it said that he went to one of their homes that night that Summer went missing? And he even, when we were going through Don's interviews with Voices Behind the Wall, he mentions, I went to my neighbor, and he does like the F, and then he stops himself. And
yeah, that was really interesting.
Seeing that comment when I know, True Crime Commentary has, spoken to Candace, I think at least on panels, things like that. Just now I'm like, huh? Where did that come from?
I know. There is still so much questions surrounding like the neighbors and all that. Like, that's why I'm really not sold on any theory still. Like, I just feel like even the district attorney is probably like, where am I supposed to go with this?
And like you said, even if some of the neighbors around there, had nothing to do with what happened to Summer and her disappearance, they still could be involved in illegal activity or whatever. So just a whole nother factor to it all.
Right. And I'd seen Mr. Tomato Head, I think, asked about, or Dee said something about Dave Rader. And I have the clip of him on Off the Cuff, but I also have like a 2-hour live where you and I go through the footprints, where they originated from, the neighbor who was stating that he'd seen this or that. And again, it's hearsay even from Dave Rader, but I'll play that clip, which is like 2 minutes long.
For centuries, smart investors have used farmland to build wealth. Unfortunately, owning...
When he got into town on June 19th.
Thought that that Saturday night that I got into town, which would have been 4 days after she went missing, is that somebody said that they found a footprint. Now, I don't know the truth about that, but they had TBI, FBI, they had some of the locals there late at night. I got into town about 11 o'clock, and they were still searching until about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, from what I understand, because they went under the assumption is that, oh hell, maybe if she was abducted, they're seeing all of this go down. They dropped her back off near the woods, and that she was now walking the woods by herself. So then they set up this good perimeter around there, and just kind of worked our way more towards the house to create that funnel effect.
Okay.
And we followed creeks. There wasn't a damn stone unturned. I can't imagine.
And yeah, in my live, Mr. Tomato, I pretty much go through, I have the posts from the neighbor who said this or that. And to say a neighbor verified the footprints, more like a neighbor speculated on the footprints. He was asked, and you guys can check that out in that live stream. I have like the screenshots of the thread in Facebook. People did kind of jump down his throat, but it was because they wanted more proof, and he couldn't really provide it. He just said, I heard that they found footprints. They asked for the size of my children's feet, etc. And people were kind of questioning like why he was coming out in Facebook groups. And like, yeah, they did kind of jump down his throat. But again, I don't think that means law enforcement just like lost touch of this information. Like, they know very much about the footprint, and they know that it was a lead that they followed, as you saw with the helicopter and all that, but they still do not think abduction, as there was no other footprints with hers that we know of. So yeah, Dee, it was a really good live stream. And but I'm almost to the point, like I'm saying, like I don't feel like that is like the direction of my mentality anymore. Like my mentality right now is sort of aligning with the district attorney on what do we have as evidence and the timeline, the 911 call, the boys' statements. Why do we have some people in this case, like H, thinking the boys were at work with Don, and then Candace stating the boys were at home watching and playing Minecraft. You know what I mean?
And then David Dotson stating he was one of the first, on the hill, and she showed him a video of the kids swimming and said it was from that day and the boys were present. So there's just so many different statements. And I agree with Christy. I mean, we really don't know that she went missing on June 15th. Just like in the, again, go back to the Orrin and Orson West case. They were reported missing towards the end of December. It's now come out over a year later that they had been gone, they believe, since September. So they definitely, could be holding that close to the vest too, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Amanda. Like, I believe that there was a footprint. They're not going to call a helicopter out and search at night, this and that, if they didn't see something that kind of like, alerted them. But at the same time, it's just, it was a lead. Now it's no longer a lead.
Right. Same. I believe there was a footprint or footprints, whatever, found. I do. I just don't believe that they have been verified as belonging to Summer.
And that's the thing too, is unless people can point me in the direction, and people have said Dave Rader said it, but I mean, again, whether or not he's part of EquiSearch or not, it's still hearsay. And they're talking about a scent being found on a footprint. And the only thing of evidence I found of that was this neighbor stating that, like, he thought that that's what was found. Like,
Right.
Nothing has ever been confirmed. And even so, to conclude and say no sign of abduction, it's kind of like, why wouldn't they just admit that, like, yeah, you know what, this could be something, and I think it could be a possible abduction. Like, I just feel like they're already knowing, like, I just don't, it's the only thing. They went from saying everything's on the table to just reiterating over and over, no sign of abduction. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then, yeah, they did say, the way I understood it, Crazy Crime Check, is, that she was possibly barefoot, not verified barefoot, like 100%. And then if they're finding her footprint, where's the abductor's footprint? Why aren't they leaving any footprints?
Right. And I think that that's pretty much what they kind of concluded. I mean, this is TBI, FBI. They had like the special unit of the FBI for child abductions, and the special unit is saying no. I mean, I'm sorry. There comes a point where you kind of just have to face the facts, and I just don't think stranger abduction should even be considered at this point in my like, I've kind of, even though I never really put weight into it, after my research in the footprint and the origins of it and what ended up happening. And now we see in JLR and Michelle's video that the last search is in a different area. Like, obviously they're trying to think outside of where they thought back in June when they were looking at the footprint area,
Yeah. Yep.
And the scent found and then dispersed on the gravel. I mean, that has been speculated on as maybe she got in a car. But again, we don't have proof of, no one is saying like that could be an abduction either. So it's just frustrating. All right, let me play this. Again, this is last year. And this is Candace's statement last year.
You don't even have to tell me that you did it. Just bring her back. Say that you found her walking. I don't care. Just bring her back. That's all I care. So pleaded Candace Wells late Sunday afternoon in regards to her 5-year-old daughter Summer, who went missing 5 weeks ago, seemingly vanished within 5 minutes of last being seen. I don't understand it, the child's mother said. It don't make no sense. Candace recalled June 15th, the day Summer disappeared. Candace's mother, also named Candace, but also whose nickname is Candy, needed to see a doctor in Kingsport after her aching knee. We went to Gatlinburg, and the boys accidentally kept tripping over her sore knee, Candace.
So I'm just going to pause it right there. So she just said we went to Gatlinburg, and, the boys kept accidentally tripping over her knee. How do you trip over someone's knee?
Yeah, she would have the only way I can make that make sense is like she's sitting, but in Gatlinburg, it seems like you do a lot. You're walking a lot, you're going places. So yeah, that's weird.
And another thing that Benny kind of was throwing out there, or somebody on his panel, I can't remember who, was the idea that obviously that ER visit was random to happen on that day, and that they were maybe looking to score some pills specifically, like that was the whole reason for the day. And we have Allie saying that the boys were kicking Grandis's knee. Then we have Candace here saying they were accidentally tripping over it. And then I feel like she told Chris McDonough another excuse about the knee, but I can't remember.
Said she had an artificial knee replaced, and if you twist it the wrong way, it pops out and really hurts bad. And she couldn't figure out why it wouldn't stop hurting after a while, so I took her to the ER that morning. After taking Candy to Holston Valley, Candace and Summer went to visit some friends in Kingsport. They invited me over to sit at their house while I waited for my mom to get done, so we weren't sitting in the hot truck.
So she's telling the reporter that she was invited by Allie and H to come over in Kingsport so that she didn't have to wait in the hot truck for Grandis.
The way, because I remember reading this like right back when it came out, and I was rewatching my live of this actually, and I was so off base. I was thinking, who are those friends? We know she hung out with H, but she's saying that these friends invited her over. Well, it was H, but exactly, there's still a discrepancy over who contacted who that morning first, and suddenly they're at H's house.
And
then
here
Allie
she is doubling down, saying that she's invited, but she said, but it's making it seem like the family invited her over, but it was really just a 15-year-old boy.
Exactly. Yep. It's
and yeah, she said, yet she never used the vehicle's AC. Exactly. She said she didn't like EC. She emphasizes further in this article too, that it was super hot that day. Okay, so why is the window up? Why is Summer dressed in long sleeves and all that? You know what I mean? It's just so many different stories. I agree.
Yeah.
So I went over there, Candace said. I was sitting and my mom called me to come get her, said Candace, adding that the 15-year-old son of her friend asked to go along.
So here in this story, we're supposed to believe that she gets the call to pick up Grandis and H is begging to go with them. Like, why would he be wanting to go with you to go get Grandis from the ER?
And then, like, he describes it as fishing. And the Allie said, yeah, there's no problem going fishing and coming back.
Exactly. This story, fishing isn't even mentioned yet. And they're already on their way to go get Grandis from the ER. Like, what? And, you know, this whole story starts off with they were invited to come over while they wait for Grandis. So then why would they go out of their way to, like, bring you with them? You know, you're just here to kind of, like, kill time for them and help them out so they're not in a hot truck. But now, like, you want to go with them to go get her. Like, normally you would think, like, okay, they would depart ways. Like, well, enjoy the rest of your day. Glad, you know, we could help you pass the time. But here in this story, H is begging to go with them back to the ER to get Grandis.
I went and picked her up, and then we drove all the way across town and dropped her prescription off. They said it'd be about 30 minutes at most. So we were like, well, instead of sitting here in the car where it's hot, it was baking hot. We'll just go to Warriors and let Summer swim for a little while. Like I said, we weren't even planning on going swimming or fishing or anything.
So she's telling the reporter, like, there was no plan that day to go swimming or fishing, which obviously everyone knows. Like, I don't need to spell out how that contradicts, like, her story to Chris McDonough and Allie's story.
And doesn't Allie say that she saw worms somewhere? I'm almost positive she said that.
Yeah, I do remember.
Panel.
Yeah, worms being mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, she kind of doubles down on the fact that she thought they were going fishing.
Right.
So now I'm just thinking, like, you have to think, like, why are people lying? What was really the plan that day? And I think we have to go there. Like, something was planned that day and it had nothing to do with swimming or fishing. Like, we just kind of have to almost, in my opinion, like, accept that, because everyone's story is different. So what exactly was the plan for H, Summer, and Candace that day?
And possibly even Allie. I mean, I don't feel like we can rule her out quite yet, because when people lie and when people are caught in indiscrepancies on anything, you have to, that raises a red flag. But in the case of a missing now 6-year-old child, it's just a whole nother level, and you really have to question why. And yeah, I agree. None of them are reliable, but why aren't they reliable? Why are they lying? Why are stories not adding up? Was this some type of plan? Was this some type of, some sick thing that went wrong? We just don't know.
And, you have to account for the fact that a prescription medication was being picked up that day. And if it had anything to do with pain relief, obviously those are easily and very frequently abused. We have a twisted tea being picked up that day. And even if it's one can, you have one can and you pop a pill, it's like you just drank a whole case. You know what I mean? So the fact that it was only allegedly one can, to me, doesn't really mean much, because you can add it into just knowing that they had other controlled substances in arm's reach that day. The prescription, whatever it was, which is also being hidden. And also you have to think too, H was on ADD medication. And I'm not saying that that was exchanged that day or even, mentioned really, but a lot of people abuse ADD and ADHD medication all the time. It's pretty much synthetic cocaine.
Yeah.
Which, when you have those ailments like ADD, ADHD, it doesn't treat you like cocaine. It medicates you. But if you don't have ADD and ADHD and you decide to abuse those medications, like, yeah, it's pretty much cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And don't we hear Don talk about his favorite drug being cocaine at one point or something? More than one.
I think so. Yeah.
So I just don't know what type of stuff is being used.
And
as far as... No, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say real quick, Mr. Tomato Head is making a good point about the prescription. So H makes it sound like because I know I've picked up a prescription today, but they called it in and told me it was ready. I didn't have a paper or anything like that. So they did make it sound like they went to the prescription to drop it off. We're told it would take about 30 minutes. Said instead of sitting and waiting around in the hot car, let's go let Summer burn off some energy. And that's how they end up at the horse pond.
Right.
So, yeah, are narcotics, pain pills, do they do paper prescriptions for those still? That's just something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure, Punksy. I'm sure they've asked or crossed their T's and dotted their I's as far as tracking down like what this although do they even have to tell the cops what prescription it was? That's kind of like protected for grandis under HIPAA.
Right. I don't know how all that would work. I mean, Chris McDonough claims that he knows they were in the Walgreens line and that, they were seen on surveillance. But again, that's Chris McDonough. I know people have opinions on him, but just repeating what he said.
Right. And I don't feel like he would intentionally put out fake news in an open investigation. More so, like, I don't think anyone, I mean, some people might intentionally do it. And we've seen, I won't even name her name, but the one that stole your video and said that it was her.
Yeah. I don't even know.
Like, that's my voice.
Yeah. Like, that's me.
But, she and other people in other cases have put out fake news.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I feel like I can rely on Chris McDonough's source. But again, it's still hearsay, which we cannot stand usually. But some of it you have to put weight into, I guess.
Right.
All right. So let me continue with this, and I'll pause it, obviously, at red flags because there's more.
Sorry.
Candace said. So they went to Warriors Path State Park and let Summer and the boys swim in the cove just south of the park's horse stables. I figured 15 or 20 minutes in the water, run a little bit of energy out instead of sitting in the truck, Candace said. One of the last videos shot of Summer before her disappearance is her swimming in that cove. There has been much speculation in social media about what happened next. According to accounts, Summer went underwater and the boy dove in to save her. Candace said that didn't happen. In the video, Summer is seen splashing in the lake, then stands up to reveal it's only about waist deep. That boy lied on everything that happened, Candace said, because the place I was at, there was no rocks. She didn't slide on no rocks and fall in the water. She wasn't under the water for 20 seconds or more like he said. That was just a bunch of lies he made up. I don't know why he did that.
So why do you guys think this whole she went under lie came about?
Okay, I have a couple of theories on that. I feel like it was going around very quickly as a theory in the Facebook groups. As soon as that TikTok video was out and Summer was seen in the water, I feel like it was going around. And then Allie talked to Unmasked, and that's where she first verbally said that H had said that. So I really wonder if they were, again, this could go either way. H could know more, and they're using the drown, we're trying to use that Candace wasn't watching her. H had to help out, as in H was being more of a protector than the mother was. Or it did not happen, and they're either just, trying to put Candace into a bad light, or, it didn't happen and something else happened, and we're trying to throw that out there as something that could have happened to Summer. I don't know, but I just find the whole going underwater thing, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, it was. The dry drowning was speculated before H's interview. It was speculated in Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Then she came out on Unmasked with Teresa, who's now with Criminality, and that's where she verbally brought it up.
Yep. And think about it. And I hate to say this, but were we all just grasping at straws because that was a video that was posted on that day? And here we are, armchair detectives, and we're looking and we're like, wow, the mom updated this video. She's in the water. She dry drowned. You know what I mean? Like, is that all because we've speculated on it and we've been able to, so then that would mean something different happened, and it made H and Allie and them scared enough to go on all these platforms and cover their butts. So we get back to the whole who's involved. H and Allie have lied. H and Allie have said this whole dry drowning thing, and Sherry, right? Allie's mom or something, or was
I
it
don't know.
Leslie? I
Well,
forget.
I feel like Leslie was obviously agreeing with Allie about the underwater thing, and Leslie made it sound like she heard from Hunt H as well the story of her going under. Leslie, in my opinion, was making it sound like, Hunter told her the story about Summer going under.
Right. So ultimately, even though I've played around with it in my head today, which could change tomorrow, today I'm feeling like this whole she went under story really was a lie.
I tend to agree. Yeah. And I feel like dry drowning possible, yes, but I feel like if it was an accident, I don't think it was a dry drowning, if that makes sense. I feel like this kind of maybe just came out to make Candace look bad, if you will.
Right. Yeah. It could be they want Candace to look bad. It could also be H has more involvement in some sort of injury towards Summer, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Or say there was some sale. Allie is the link to that sale. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's other things on the table in my mind. But I'm feeling like this didn't ever happen, that she went under.
Right. I want to know more about the water park thing that Hunter mentions. Like that, they were wanting, Candace was wanting to talk to Allie about the water park for that Friday. But it's like, if you
Yeah.
haven't been friends and talked in all this time, who brought up the water park and when?
Right. And then if that was true, then it makes me or anybody feel like, okay, so then if they had plans, then this wasn't a planned disappearance.
Yeah.
Because why would they plan for her to I mean, I guess you could, but I don't think that they're that smart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel
Right.
like they could set up an alibi for later in the week for a planned abduction earlier in the week. Like, oh no, we had plans. I just don't feel like, I feel like if that was true and H was alluding to them going somewhere soon together, then it would make you feel like, okay, this wasn't premeditated and maybe it was some accident.
Yeah. I go back and forth so much on if I think this was premeditated or was like due to neglect, an accident due to neglect
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Yeah, Leslie is sketchy herself. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not even just an accident with neglect being the lead of it. This house is being ran by like addiction.
Exactly.
Like Don and Candace and maybe even Grandis have other priorities. And I think
Yes.
you can still see that with Candace today.
Mm-hmm.
There was no incident at all. That don't even make no sense why he would even say that. And the video that I took is the same exact time that they were in the water playing, Candace said. If Summer had fallen, she'd jump right back up.
And if this is true, that TikTok video was, and they can find this out with the digital forensics, they took that time and place, like as Candace is saying it, like I posted that the time that it was taken. You know what I mean? Like they'll be able to make sure that statement's true or not. So would you premeditate something and then I mean, I guess you would put like a digital trail of it as like an alibi, like, no, here she was here at this time. Or was it some sort of accident and earlier that day they were having a great time? It can go like either way.
It really can. Like maybe they really did just go to the swim hole and at 12:21 she uploads that TikTok video. And maybe Summer really did just fall asleep on that milk and was completely healthy and fine and had nothing in her system, was just fine, fell asleep, was real tired. And she took that video, or Grandis took that accidental video at 3:09 p.m. Maybe that did happen, and then they get back to the house and who knows what played out. or it's like there's more to that day. And the reason I just keep going back, like there's more to that day, because I feel like if there wasn't, then why are Allie and H being caught in discrepancies? Unless you
Yeah.
could, I've also thought to myself, maybe H was simply under the influence, and that is kind of their hang up and why he stumbles and why Allie's kind of, throwing more Candace under the bus. I don't know. I just
Not
can't.
only is H underage, so his credibility is already rocky, in my opinion, you have to throw in the fact he was inebriated too, and it's like, damn, how do we even know what he remembered that day?
And wasn't, again, whatever, but on probation, I remember she did the robot thing over it.
I feel like we need to do a live stream, and I want you and
Yes.
Crazy and Amanda, and you guys have to come up and we'll rewatch all of our first videos together and just laugh. But yeah,
funny.
I still don't like my voice. I don't like listening. I listen to myself if I do have to go back and like check something, like a note or whatever, but I'll listen to myself sped up because I feel like I sound better sped up. So yeah, I used a filter in my first YouTube video if you guys want a good laugh. But where were we? As far as, yeah, why are people lying? And think about it too. If people are gonna, oh, she wandered off, well then why is Candace driving over to Allie's the next day to ask H what he told them? Why would that have anything to do with her wandering off? Unless it was just, did you tell them I gave you alcohol? But it's like,
Yeah.
at that point, if
Yeah,
it
you
wasn't
can-
her fault that she wandered off, why would she need to, like, I don't know. It could go either way.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like you could argue that she was just worried that he was going to tell she gave the alcohol, but I don't know. It was interesting how Allie mentioned that Grandis was there too. And that's what she said on Prayer Gardens of America, how quickly when her and Candace showed up in Grandma's truck to come question her son, she was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and or no, well, now I'm like, wait, okay, because she mentioned how quickly Grandis gets out of the truck. But at one point, she said she was in the bathroom. Maybe she was in the bathroom when TBI came. But yeah, she was talking how Grandis and Candace got out of the truck to go question H. And she was like, how could she get out of that truck so quickly with her knee like that?
Yeah, she was in the bathroom when Summer came over to change into her bathing suit before they went fishing. And yeah, the next day she was in the bathroom again when Candace came over with Grandis to ask H what he told TBI. And if we're to believe that she wanted to know if H told them that she gave him alcohol, I don't believe that, because she tells Chris McDonough he took that. Like she pretty much says like she bought it for her grandmother, or for Grandis, her mother, and Hunter took it. So why would she need to drive over there to be like, did you tell them I gave you the alcohol, when she's already got like a defense to be like, he took it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's much deeper than, did you tell them I gave you alcohol? Like she drove over there for a reason. Something happened with H around, I'm thinking. Because why would, everyone's lying. H knows more clearly. What was going on? Chris McDonough seemed to be a little bit interested when they talked about them being alone in the truck together and they were snuggling or whatever. Like, to me, it seemed as though Chris McDonough, not that he said or did anything, but I just feel like the questions he was asking were, I don't know. And they always emphasize Summer was like a sister to H. And I just wonder like what was going on behind closed doors in that house, just from everything even that Jose has said. Like, I don't know. I can't help it.
I completely agree. It seems like there was a lot of
sexually explicit things going on around children.
Yes.
Even if it was just talk, even if it was just Girls Gone Wild stuff on the TV, like it was on when Chris McDonough went by. Like, we hear about Don's son with H's sister who's underage. Like all these things going round and round and stuff that Benny says, like he'll say it super quick and you're like, wait, what did he just say?
Yeah.
And it doesn't allude to good things going on that he knows of with things going on at that house. I don't know. I just think that there's like way more to all this, but let me continue with this. And then I want to pull up an internal bleeding article, because I feel like, and I think that you guys should also start thinking about while I play this, is the possibility of an accident taking place that was causing internal bleeding for Summer, because you hit like a stone wall when you realize that like they didn't alert to death in the vehicles or the property. Otherwise there would have been like more of an investigation going on, like as far as cuffing the parents or whatever, you know? So did she leave that property close to death? You know what I mean? Plus no blood or anything like that. So it's like something might have occurred that was internal, but can still be fatal. So let me play this while you guys just ponder that idea.
That don't make no sense to me at all. There's so many rumors and lies going around. None of it even makes sense. Couch police, that's what I call them. After the swim, it was back across Fort Henry Drive to Walgreens, then a quick stop at a grocery store. We went back and picked up my mom's prescription and went to Priceless. I dropped off the boy after Priceless and we...
Notice how she didn't mention Sonic in this story? She's already at the point where she's dropping off H.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? I'm just reading superheroes. Yeah, beer guts. Takes a lot of calories and carbonation to achieve and maintain a buzz. No thanks. I'll stick with vodka shots. You love beer.
I do like beer. I don't drink it much, but I like a dark beer every now and then. And someone I saw mention Mike's Hard Lemonade. Mike's Hard Lemonade is stronger than I remember it being. Remember that night,
Yeah.
Amber? I got so sick. But yeah.
But even twisted tea, like even my fiance was like, that's nothing to just kind of like shrug off. Like even if it was one, I mean, I know that they're not the highest in alcohol, but at the same time, I mean, for a 15-year-old, or if speculation, but if Summer was drinking some of it too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
come home. And then me and my mom, the boys were in watching YouTube, like they always do. My mom says, let's rearrange and plant the flowers. She goes, well, we know the boys aren't going to help us. I know Summer will. So I yelled for Summer. She was in the house with the boys. She comes out, and she was planting flowers with us, Candace said. The flowers were put in planters next to Grandma Candy's camper, with Summer handling some of the tasks, Candace said. She put all the rocks on top, put Chase in there.
She keeps saying flowers, but then she describes the cacti, so I don't know why they keep calling them flowers.
Yeah.
She did all the rocks herself. We went into Grandmother's after we were done. She asked Grandma for a piece of candy. Grandma gave her a piece of candy. She told me she wanted to go back over with her brothers, so I literally walked her halfway between the camper and the house, Candace said. I watched her go in the door, and I could see her brothers at the kitchen table. When she went in, I walked over and I yelled at the boys. I said, watch Summer, I'll be right back. I've got to fix Mom's knee brace. I was standing right there at the camper. I was over there fixing it. Literally, you can see my house from the camper door. She did not walk back out that front door. Candace estimated it took about 2 to 5 minutes to fix Mom's brace. When I got done, I come back in. I asked the boys, where's your sister? They said, she went downstairs to play with her toys, Mom. I said, okay, and I went and I hollered down the steps. I always holler for them down there. And she didn't holler back. I said, are you sure she's down there? They said, yeah, she went down there. So I went down there and I searched. I looked everywhere I could. Then I went through the house and I kept calling for her, yelling for her, everything. I came out here yelling for her, everything else, and she was nowhere. So I called Don because I was freaking out, Candace said. Don, Summer's father, was installing drywall at a job site in Jonesboro. I said, I can't find Summer. Get home now, Candace recalled. He was like, call 911. So I dropped my phone because I had to run over and get my mom's phone and dial 911 because her AT&T phone is the only one that works out here to call 911. So I called them and told them what's going on. Before the cops even came out, I went down and told my neighbors, Summer is missing. Will you help me look? Just in case.
So here, Candace is saying before the cops even got there, she's asking neighbors to help her. I don't know. I just feel like I
Yeah,
never
that's
really
very
hear her like mention that.
Yes. And then notice how she mentions I was yelling. And I feel like that kind of aligns. Remember, Grandis came out and claimed she was asleep, woke up to Candace yelling and said she was in hysterics. But then Dawn with Brian Enton, he mentions they heard us yelling. So it's like, who really was all there? But yeah, that neighbor comment is very interesting.
Because I feel like she doesn't really mention that to Chris McDonough. It was just Don who said by the time he got there, he saw his neighbors with the boys. His neighbor, plural. Or I mean, not plural.
Neighbor Dawn. Yes,
Case she did wander off, but I knew in the back of my mind.
Sorry.
No, I was done.
She's never wandered off. She never went nowhere without.
So here she's doubling down like, no, she didn't wander off. And this is July.
Without me. She'll ask me to do something before she even goes and does it. And she's scared to go in the woods herself because we've told her time and time again because of the bears and snakes, Candace said. I sent the older boys down through the creek. If they've got a walkie-talkie and their buck knife, they can go down through there. I send them searching, and I went out in my mom's truck and went all the way down by the church. Then
okay, so here she's saying I took my mom's truck, I went all the way down by the church. And that's where that they were like around where they were searching, I guess. Last time. The most recent search.
Yeah.
Went all the way down the other way, and I didn't see nobody even out and about, Candace said. Then I went all the way back to the holler as far as the truck can go, and I didn't see nothing back in there either.
I just noticed it this time, so she's talking about driving all around. She said, then I went back to the holler, the farthest spot where the truck can go. I wonder if they've looked there. I mean, I'm sure they have, but like this right here is very interesting because she took it as far as a truck can go. So can you get out of your truck and, like what is back there pretty much? Like, I'm really curious. Because if they think that she is close nearby, then I don't know. It's like she's got to be out there somewhere. Like we've said over and over, like they're not just going to disappear.
And according to Dawn, they were on their messenger call the whole time while Candace was driving around. So I would think, if that's true, they would be able to see exactly where Candace was driving.
Yeah, exactly. The pinging and the phone data that they have. Mr. Tomato Head, I can go back if you want. Hold on. I don't know if she specifies the road. Hold on.
As far as the truck can go the other way, and I didn't see nobody even out and about, Candace said.
So she says she drove down by the church and then she went up the opposite way and she didn't see nobody.
Then I went all the way back to the holler as far as the truck can go, and I didn't see nothing back in there either. When I was coming back out of the holler, the cops were coming up my driveway, so I just followed them up in here. I don't recall if Don was here before the police got here or if he was here at the same time they showed up.
Interesting that she can't remember when Don showed up, like in sequence of the PD showing up. But
And this was July, right? So
yeah.
about a month later, she doesn't
Yeah,
remember.
how do you not remember the series of events? And why are you protecting Hello. And why are you protecting Don's whereabouts, like at his timeline? You know what I mean? Like in a way, by her saying, I
Yes.
can't remember, like she's protecting whatever Don has said. Like she's just talking to a reporter here. So, you know, it doesn't matter that she can't give specifics. So she wants the reporter and everyone else to think like she just can't remember, but that is vital. And I agree with Crazy Crime Chick's comment. She took it that far because she handed Summer off, in my opinion. And that was sort of speculated on last night on Benny's. Like I'm telling you guys, it was a good conversation all the way through. Just pop your mouse around and you'll find something good. But they were really going in on Candace. You know, she stayed, they believe Summer's close possibly. And Candace left twice. Candace could have met with Don or whoever, handed off Summer, because remember, we hear that Freudian slip or whatever type of slip you want to say. Don says to Chris McDonough, you know, someone put her in her car. And everyone was like, he's not saying her, he's saying their car. But I think he's saying her. And if she was handed off, like, I just feel like it would require someone, maybe not just Don, but like a third person, Grandis, somebody, you know, someone with a red truck, maybe, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like this would have been like a team effort if they were getting rid of Summer last minute in like a panic. You know, Don is like, what happened? Which I don't understand too, is remember when Brian Enton asked Don, could something have happened where Candace, you know, panicked and didn't call for help or something? And he was like, no, she would know to call for help. Do you remember that? Or does chat remember that?
Yeah. I remember that for sure.
So that's the thing that I never understood too, after Don said that to Brian, is like, but she couldn't find her after she looked everywhere and she had to call you and you had to tell her to call 911. You know what I mean? Like if you're like panicking enough to be like, let me call I don't know. I just feel like wouldn't Candace shouldn't she have known enough to call 911? Like, why is she calling Don? And like, I guess everyone could handle the situation different, but like, if they're already assuming that someone came up and took her so soon, like in the timeline of like what they thought happened, like immediately Don came out saying, we think someone came up and took her. So if that was sort of the feeling that they were getting so soon, you know, why didn't Candace just call 911? Like, it just seems to me like Candace needs direction. Like, she's not going to come up with some plan or some criminal thing to take place. Like, she will be a part of it, but she needs someone to direct her. You know, like, so either Grandis is helping her or Don is telling Grandis and Candace, you got to do this, bring her here, I'll meet you. You know, because there's a reason why Grandis is also lying for some reason, or I feel like she's hiding something.
Right. And if you believe kind of what you're saying with, you know, having to be helped out or like told what to do, what we're hearing from people who have spent time with the Wells is that Don was very controlling. You know, he ruled the roost. And if you believe Grandis's alleged friend, you know, she said that it had to be a decision by Dawn if they were going to take Summer to the hospital. So just so many little things like that. And I've thought for a long time, I go back and forth between accident or this was kind of a planned thing. But I think if it was a planned thing, Don has his hands in it big time.
Right. Like there's a reason why Don feels the need to control his situations. You know, he's got his own butt to save, whether it's because of whatever reason.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, it could be, I don't know. I mean, something could have fallen back on Don if they did a medical exam on Summer, like if they called to get her help, or if she was already gone and they're like, what do we do? You know, and Don knows that they're going to know by like examining her that whatever, you know what I mean? Like, CPS was going to show
Yeah.
up too. So that adds a different element where people are like, was this pre-planned because CPS was going to get involved? You know, like we've thought that. But you know what else I'm thinking
Yeah.
now too? Now I'm thinking, geez, CPS is involved. You know, even if an accident took place, because like if an accident took place, like just hide her, like don't call the authorities. You know what I mean? Like, because we've seen so many
Right.
families don't report their kids for how long, and then all of it, like Casey Anthony, how long was she missing or not around? And
Yeah.
then Casey called the authorities and said my daughter's been missing for like a month or something like that. So
Yeah, well, her mom called. Yeah, she never even called.
right, so how
And
long
then
was
Megan
Casey gonna go
Boswell's
without?
baby.
Yeah, these parents go a while before reporting or until they're in a situation where a family member is alerting the authorities. So now I'm thinking they might have felt like we can't just hide her or not report her. We have to report her missing because CPS is coming. So even if an accident happened, they know like, great, like we can't even hide this because someone's showing up at our house in a few days. So it could go either way. Like it was a pre-sale because CPS was coming and they had to get rid of her, or it was an accident took place and they knew that they had to face it head on by calling 911 because they couldn't hide her because CPS was coming.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where I'm at, like as far as theories. I still am not stuck on a soul theory, but I think that if they're going to go a legal route, they'll say that, well, then she must have wandered off because of the neglect charge. Yeah, Christy said the second. I mean, yeah, I can't even say 100% either way because there's so many elements in this that I think are true, but might not have direct involvement to her going missing on the 15th, you know?
Exactly. Yes, I feel like there are a lot of elements to Summer's life, to the family, to their probably illegal activities, but do they all lead to what allegedly happened on the 15th when Summer allegedly went missing? I just don't know where I really stand on that. I go back and forth so much.
Right. And I think it's almost a little bit of everything. Like, I feel like we're probably right in our instincts and thinkings when we think about one avenue, and then we're probably right in us thinking that it's possibly some sort of accident while people were inebriated or something, you know? Could be both.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Allison
And
said, I just got the
JLR.
notification that you were live. That's okay. You're here now.
Oh, hey, Allison. Yeah, JLR had said in his comments of the video where he was, him and the other crew were talking to Grand Bun, Grand Bun, Sherry, and Allie, that he was going to post a part 2, but he hasn't posted it yet. But I'm very interested if he will ever post the part 2 he mentions.
Wow. I didn't even know. I'll be checking that out.
Yeah.
Said Candace. We searched everywhere we could possibly search. They were out here for 3 or 4 days straight searching 5,000 square acres. They searched all around this mountain terrain, all the way down through here. They busted into my shed down there and destroyed it, she said. What really gets me is when they were searching for her, why didn't they make the neighbors let them go in their sheds and buildings and stuff? Why didn't they make them unlock it? Some people were like, no, you can't search my property. Why would you do that? There's a missing kid. Why would you not let them search? It just don't make no sense, said Candace.
I had such a hard time reading her interview because of her broken like grammar and all that. I was just like, I had to keep doing
Yeah.
it over and over, and it's so funny
Just
to
don't
listen
make no
to it.
sense.
It don't make no sense.
Yeah.
But reflecting back on this interview and her being all mad that they tore up their shed and why didn't they make neighbors open their sheds, this and that. Like, I don't know if that's in reflection of Jody Sue specifically that she's trying to put a jab at, or if she's just trying to deflect from like what she really knows, and she's trying to like keep mystery that like it could be she could be in these sheds of these people that wouldn't let us check. You know what I mean?
Right. Mr. Tomato Head, this is from Rogersville Review. She did an interview with them.
Yeah, and it's very much similar to what she's saying to Chris McDonough, but I believe that she's just rehearsed this stuff over and over, that she's sticking to the script.
Who grew frustrated at times with the searchers. They looked in every vehicle I had, underneath every vehicle I had. They opened that tote right there, and all it's got in it is a bunch of crafts and stuff. You couldn't even fit nobody in that if you wanted to. They opened that like 7 times. They even went so small to look into my mom's sewer tank of the camper. That hole's like an inch diameter circle. Candace gestured with her thumb and index finger. How did you get that 4-foot baby in that hole? She said. Candace said she thought the police canines would have had better success if she had been notified to corral the family's 8 dogs. They just done some stupid, underhand stuff. When
This part kind of had me like laughing a little bit. Like, I kind of was like, oh my gosh, she just has no idea. So she's going to talk about how, she's upset that they brought the cadaver dogs over without notifying her ahead of time. And she's going to make it seem like it was because, her dogs were all over the place and she had to corral them. But really, I think she's frustrated that they came by unannounced. But she's deflecting it and making it seem like, and here I am with all these dogs, trying to gather them. And then she goes in to say that, because now my dogs are going to mess with their dog's scent, and now everything's ruined. Like, it's like, no, Candace, they're supposed to smell decomposition. That's the only thing those dogs are going to care about. Like, they've obviously been in places where other animals are, you know what I mean? And like, I know it was sort of a hassle for you, but don't worry, it's not going to reflect anything on like them finding death scent. But like, she makes it seem like she was frustrated that she had to corral them. But I think, in my opinion, she was more frustrated that it was like an unannounced visit. Because she can't take her Xanax or whatever beforehand.
Yeah. Too bad the dogs weren't gone. That's, like they just happened to be gone when Summer disappeared. I don't know.
Right. And they brought the cadaver dogs up. Why didn't they warn me ahead of time to find a place for these dogs to go? They just brought them up. Oh, you got dogs? You guys already knew I had dogs. That didn't pan out because you've got these 8 adult dogs wanting to smell all these new dogs you just brought up on my property. So that's going to mess up the cadaver dogs because it's not going to know which way to go, Candace said. Summer's mother also expressed frustration with TBI. TBI kept questioning me. They asked me the same thing, wanting me to run through my whole timeline of the day. They did that like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, you guys still don't get it. If I was going to lie, I would have to think about it. It just comes out. I don't have to sit here and think about what I did. I know what I did. I just spit it out to you 20,000 times, Candace said. A liar has to think up something. I passed my polygraph test and everybody is like, oh, you failed. No, I didn't fail. The first time I did it, they couldn't really do it with me because they threw me in the back of a squad car like I did something wrong and hauled me up there. I was already distressed over Summer being missing, and then they did that to me.
So here she's being, and I know she's talked about this before and others have talked about it, but yeah, she's being hauled off in the back of a squad car and she's crying. And she's saying like she had already been upset because Summer being missing. But I feel like it could also go a different way. Like if an accident had happened, you know, and that scream heard was actually Candace's scream, you know what I mean? Like she witnessed whatever, she very well could be like that distraught where she couldn't take a polygraph. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like her saying because Summer went missing, like it could go like, is that true? Or were you upset about something else?
Yeah, because I feel like even people who do play a role in, you know, their loved ones' deaths or disappearance or whatever, you can still have emotion from that and maybe feel some guilt or feel worry. And that presents itself in all kinds of different emotions, you know?
Right. And it's interesting that they didn't take any of the other, you know, Don or Grandis to in the back of a squad car. So for some reason, law enforcement has been gunning for Candace, it seems. And she snaps on Dr. Phil because like I feel like I'm being interrogated again. Like it was obviously causing her that like stress reaction where she's like, I want to fight or flight, and she starts ripping off her microphones or whatever. Like, you know, I do believe that she is under stress in those situations and she just can't go there. But it's like, you know more. You cannot avoid this stress any longer. She's medicating it, obviously, with her substances. And it's just like, we know there's more. That's why it seems like she's clinging to these substances. And I feel like the time that Summer was missing, she had been clinging in the household, it sounds like, was in very deep in their illness of addiction.
So that just made more fuel to the fire and made me more upset. So by the time I got there, I was crying and shaking and I couldn't do it, Candace said. So they told me they'll give me a few days to calm down and get some sleep and stay off your phone because that's the worst thing you can do is be on your phone. So I did that. And then I passed. It's not like I failed anything. People are like, oh, she failed. No, I didn't fail. The only people that had to do it were me, Donnie, and Mom. All three of us passed. They took the boys to a different place, someplace over by Greenville somewhere. A child advocate or something like that talked to the boys. The boys pretty much told him exactly what I told them. And I didn't even talk to the boys, Candace said. All the boys had to recall was Summer coming in the house and going downstairs. Because they got so hooked on watching YouTube. They watched Minecraft videos on YouTube. I'm like, don't you guys ever get bored with that? Candace said. They took my TV because it hooked up to my Wi-Fi. Like they're going to find something on my TV. It's like they're digging for nothing. They're grasping at straws and not really trying. Everything they did to me was backwards. They didn't shut down none of the roads until the next day. I mean, anybody could have been in and out of here.
And we know that that's just a blatant lie. So, I mean, and we know that Candace wasn't even out there dealing with the cops and stuff. She was in the house, and Don and Grandis were dealing with them. And allegedly it was because she was drunk, according to Sherry and I believe Allie and other people have rumored to say so. So how would she even know what was going on as far as road blockages and stuff? I don't know.
Gone by the time they got down here. It takes them a good 40 minutes to get from Rogersville out here, she said, adding that there had been any recent contact from law enforcement. I haven't even spoke to them in 2 weeks. You'd think they'd at least tell me, update me on something, but they don't even update me on nothing. I asked them to go check all these barns and sheds that have been out here for years that anybody could be in, Candace said. I tried to get them to go check out this guy who was trying to camp out here and try to take over my neighbor's property. They were like, oh yeah, we checked him out. It's like they don't even care if they find her or not.
So here she is telling law enforcement, like, go check out Dobbs, because that's who she's talking about, that neighbor that had that like land dispute. And they're telling her, like, yeah, we checked it out. He's, they had the alibi and all that. And I've heard Amanda say the same thing. Like, she would put them, and I think I've even heard other people who have spoken out against Candace now. She puts them on these like wild goose chases. Like, here she's saying, like, why won't they go check the neighbors' sheds and stuff? I told them to check all these sheds. It's like she wants everyone to go on this like wild goose chase because she knows the truth, you know what I mean? But she's like deflecting it and like sending people elsewhere. And here she is in July, like saying all this stuff. And now we know that like she's continued to do this with people that she's talked to. Like, I know that people have like gone down such deep rabbit holes looking into certain people. And it's come out to be like, yeah, it was nothing, but it's the same people that here she is saying, like, check out this neighbor who was camping, this and that. It's like, okay. At this point, we know that like, why is she pointing us in these directions that didn't amount to anything?
That's what it seems to me, because we're poor, I guess. I guess if we have lots of money, they do better work, I guess. That's the way I look at it. I don't know, for some reason TBI don't believe that she was abducted, Candace said. That's what don't make sense to me, because she's not here. She don't just disappear. I mean, I've seen movies where people just start vanishing off Earth, but, them are so fake. But somebody had to have taken her. That's the only conclusion I could come to. She had to have either somebody snuck in the basement or she walked out the back. And she'll come out the basement and walk around the house to her swing. She always did that. She's never wandered ever away from here. She's never went out of this yard at all, Candace said. Neither the basement door or the lower half of the driveway loop is visible from the area between Candy's camper and the Wells home. The slope of the hill is too great and the house blocks the view. To compound matters, although there are 8 dogs on the property, they don't bark much. Candace was asked if they were good watchdogs. Hell no, she replied. They're lazy. Anybody can come up here and could have taken her. Could have fed the dogs down there, lower part of the yard. These dogs are so friendly and they love everybody. They don't know strangers. Indeed, contrary to expectations, the dogs greeted this reporter like a known friend and hardly barked during the hour plus on the property. As the hours ticked by and more days passed, Candace can only wonder. Everything goes through my head, she said. You go about the what ifs. What if you did this? What if you did that? There's just all kinds of crap that goes through your mind. I didn't even know how close that we even live to all these freaking SO people. There's literally one that could walk to my house in 8 minutes. I didn't even know they existed this close to my house. I don't believe anybody anymore. I've gotten to the point where I can't trust nobody because everybody I talk to either twists my words around or they do something. They put out more lies, and it's making it worse and harder on TBI to even find her, Candace said, adding that the stress is affecting her 3 sons as well. I won't let these boys outside if I'm not out here. I try to take them out of here so they can get their mind off of it. In the summer, that's all I can do with the kids because it's summertime. They're not at school, so here's a chance when they're not at school, they get to enjoy themselves. When we go, I smile for the kids, but I'm not having no fun. I'll get in the water with them, but that don't mean I'm having fun, Candace said on the constant knowledge that summer is missing. If you look at all the pictures, she was always smiling. They're always happy kids. I mean, they'll get into fights because that's what brothers do, But other than that, they're always happy no matter what they're doing. Wyatt tells me, Mom, I feel like if I would have went downstairs and played with Summer when she asked, she'd still be here. I said, you can't blame yourself, son. I said, nobody knows what the next day is going to hold. They smile to put on a good show, but other than that, I know they're really upset.
So here she's talking about one of the boys, like, you know, putting blame on him, like if he had just gone down in the basement. And I know that a lot of people have been speculating on maybe the accident took place involving the boys. And it's like, we've had some say that they were at work with Don, others say that they were home. So it's like, that could very well be a possibility. And I'm not like saying that that didn't happen either. So that's still on my board, like possible accident, whether it was with the dirt bike or hide and seek. Maybe they got violent with her or something, or too rough on the swing. You know what I mean? Pushing her too high, or you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I'm open to that also. And then just interesting how she talks about the boys allegedly saying, like, what if we walk down there with her? Remember on Cracking Cases, Candace says, I go over everything and woulda, coulda, woulda. What if I woulda walked out there with her? And it's like, what if you would have walked out there with her, Candace? I thought you walked her in. So just so many little things. So hearing her say this in July versus what she said.
And we bring
like
up
a month ago.
the John Bonet case, and there being so much mystery surrounding that case, and people alluding to thinking that the brother had something to do with his sister's death, and the parents covered it up for whatever reason. I mean, there was all the reasons that they had possibly, like why they would do that. And I think that it's very possible, especially like the way that Don is with his boys, you know what I mean? And, you know, I feel like Don comes from the mentality of he would protect his sons, even if it was like a criminal activity, like he'd pretty much help them like get away with it or something. You know what I mean? Like he'd be one of those parents, I think, like in that case, the Tristan Bailey case. So I just feel like even if the boys are involved in something where there was an accident, I feel like Don would say like, don't do nothing, you're drunk, or, you know, meet me here. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it would be enough for Don to cover up whatever happened to protect his son, I think. Because in the same sense, Don doesn't want them to see things that he's done possibly to Summer or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because even Chris McDonough says Don's last interaction with Summer is a skin to skin, she was laying on my leg type of like thing. And oh my gosh, I just looked out my window. I just looked out my window and I see a possum. So nasty.
Oh my goodness.
We've seen him around here. Oh my gosh. And oh, so gross. So gross. It's raining. Like, ew, ew, ew. All right. Anyway, sorry. That was just so random.
You could go cook him for dinner.
Ew. Maybe if I lived maybe if I lived
You lived in Tennessee. And I live in Tennessee, so I'm not hating on Tennessee. It's just a joke.
Maybe if I was Ernie Shell.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But it just can come down to the fact something needed to be hidden or protected even. You know, the boys, it could maybe motivate Don to want to protect the boys. Like if I just don't know. Like if the Candace was inebriated at the time of some accident involving the kids, she would still be in trouble for neglect. It wouldn't be the boys' fault that an accident occurred. It would be Candace's fault still. Because she's the adult on the premise. And if they show up and she's drunk, even if it was an accident involving the kids or something, like, hello, you're drunk, you're supposed to be watching your kids. This blood is on your hands as a parent, not on the kids' hands who were involved in some accident. And this is, of course, all just speculation. But no, earlier, Mr. Tomato had said that they didn't think it was weird that she wanted Dobbs looked into. And I don't think it was weird either. But what I think is weird is this is July 21st. And she's saying to this reporter that she said that they need to look into this neighbor, but they told her that they already have, and, you know, he's cleared or whatnot. So to me, it's weird that she would want Amanda Vita and other people to look into Dobbs after the professionals in TBI said that that wasn't the avenue that they were worried about. That to me is weird because it's almost like she's steering the narrative and public opinion in one direction. Like, I knew people who were doing deep dives into Dobbs, including myself, for a while, and it was like same with other people in this case, and I feel like time wasted, you know what I mean? But ultimately I feel like H, Allie, Candace, Grandis, and Don know exactly what happened. And hello, criminality.
Yeah. Hello. But
So-
didn't Candace, okay, don't quote me on this, but didn't she recently kind of say she didn't know who Jackie Dobbs was? Or something. I feel like she was on a panel acting like she wasn't really sure about who that was and had only recently learned about him.
Oh,
I could be
yeah.
wrong on that.
I think she was.
Do you remember that?
This is sort of ringing a bell. Again, if you guys are
There's
watching it
so
on
much.
replay or whatever, comment down below if you know the but I think that is right. I don't know.
Yeah.
At one point, Don even came out saying they didn't know their neighbors. And they
Yeah.
try to stick with church good people or something like that. And it's like, but you do know.
And then also in chat, let us know. But I would like to know more. Remember when Jody Sue did the interview with the news and said that they were on high alert because of some property issues or whatever that had happened the day before? I would
Yeah.
like to know just more details about what exactly went down that
Occurred
day.
during the dispute.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find suspicious about Dobbs is I think that he did have some sort of bad connection to the house, just like other neighbors. But I'm not sold that it was directly linked to her disappearance. If that makes sense.
Agree.
So let me just finish
Like,
this.
I don't think Jackie Dobbs abducted Summer right now. That's not what I think personally.
Agree. Like, if anything, I don't even want to go there, but you guys can just figure it out.
Yeah.
They ask me every day, is Summer coming home today? I can't answer that. I don't know. I find myself sitting out here until midnight or 1 o'clock at night, just hoping maybe that whoever took her or whatever happened, she'll come wandering back up that driveway to us, Candace said.
So that was just an interesting look back on July 21st statement from Candace. I hope you guys thought it was interesting too. What I do want to pull up is just the minute marks on the live stream from Benny Keys, which I recommend you guys kind of peeping in and out too. I'm going to pull up 2-minute marks, and then that pretty much, and we can talk about that, and that pretty much concludes my notes because I'm like seeing the babies waking up too. But she hangs out for a little bit. She's got her like soft books in there and stuff. But pretty much, yeah. So far, what are you thinking?
I think that's really interesting to go back and listen to. And then again, that was about a month after Summer disappeared, to hear what she didn't remember, who she kind of brought up, and then think about her on these panels later, like with the Jackie Dobbs things, not remembering where Don went. Because she also recently had said she wasn't sure where Don went, if he went to the shed first. She had no idea.
We discussed possible injury occurring that caused internal bleeding, possibly, which is why in that picture she looks like she might be sleeping, because that's actually one of the symptoms. Like, if you are having internal bleeding, like you'll get drowsy, you can lose consciousness. So I'm not going to go through the article, but I do want to just bring the possibility that something had happened where she had internal bleeding, which it says right in the article. Trauma definitely is a cause of it. It even says abusing medications can cause like the lining in your stomach to like deteriorate and cause internal bleeding. But pretty much what I think, if we're talking like an accident occur, it says trauma experiences, including car accidents, falls, dropping a heavy object on yourself can damage your organs, blood vessels, and bones. You may experience internal bleeding without even cutting your skin. So that could be why there was no blood, etc. And this article just gives, the symptoms, and you guys can look through it or just, mark it as like a possibility, because I think it is, because it's talking about, you're just weak, you're passing out, possibly lose consciousness. So in the chat is that article. I might, if I remember, put it in the description box. But I do think that while I went through the idea of dry drowning being a possibility, I think it's fair to still add internal bleeding to that as well.
I agree. And it's just so sad to go down that road and put your mind there. But like you said, I mean, we're so far into this. I feel like we have to let our minds kind of go there. And
Yeah.
I'm of the ability, I just don't feel like Summer looked well in that milk video.
It almost
That's my
looked
opinion,
like,
though.
I don't know if it was just the photo I was looking. I don't know, but it almost looked like half of her face, like the one up against the milk, was looking like it was like drooping. And I like just
Yeah.
looked through the side effects of internal bleeding. It talks about like half your body being numb. So I don't know. Again, it's hard to tell with that picture, but I think, especially with like the way that her nails looked in that, I'm looking for the Benny Keys live stream to pull it up. You remember that like her nails in it looked like not dirty. Like people have said it was dirty, but I don't think it was dirty. That they were like blue or whatever in color.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what if that is, because it was saying in that article, and you guys will see that you can get like, you can see like the blood like through the skin without your skin being cut. You can see like your body turning like blue and stuff because it's internally bleeding. So I don't know if like
Right.
that was happening like with her nails, or I don't know, guys. I really don't know. But the article's there. I'm looking for the minute mark, so let me just mute it while I find it.
Yeah, Sky Z. I saw that picture yesterday, actually. The picture of Summer and her friend. Summer is hunched over. Allegedly, that friend was there on June 14th. Maybe Summer was sick before June 15th. Interesting. Yeah, I do remember that picture. Caroline says, I agree. Milk jug pic video feels wrong somehow. Yeah. And I think it's very interesting how Candace chose to release that to Teresa now with criminality. How, they were having their message exchange, Candace asking questions about that day. And she chose to say, here's this video that was supposed to be a picture my mom accidentally took. And that's how we got that. But the picture came out the night she went missing, in my opinion. There's a picture and a video. But Amber, I gotta jump off, but I will keep listening. I just gotta go pick up the kids. But
Okay,
thanks for having me.
No problem.
I know we always talk longer than
No,
Yeah,
it always drags on because we always have a good chat and dialogue with each other. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I'll be in chat if you're still going in like a few more minutes. So, or I don't know, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'll probably be done. Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, criminality just said
The picture was released on the missing flyer. So yeah, you're right. The picture was released first.
Yeah. So that's
And
just so
separate.
interesting to me. Yeah. All right. Well, I will talk to everybody soon. So see you later.
Thank you. Thank you. And everyone, her link is in my description box. So please subscribe if you haven't already to CDT. And thank you so much. So let me play these 2 clips and then we will part ways. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think. Check out this full live stream. It's over on Benny's channel. And yeah.
I had told Benny, I said, Benny, get him out of the way. We got to get the hell out of here.
So this woman had been there when they were down there.
He finally moved his car. He had his new girlfriend with him, by the way. So that's not a hoax.
Yeah, no, he had a new girlfriend. His new girlfriend got a little baby too. So that's not a hoax.
And so I finally take off and I'm trying to get out of there like dust in the wind, but Candace gets car sick. She typically drives. So she's got her head between her knees and I'm doing 15 miles an hour. And finally we get to the end. You go to the end of Beach Creek and then you take a right at that church that I was talking about earlier and you follow that all the way down. And then there's a Dollar General on the left. We stopped there. Benny showed up behind us and he was on the phone with
That's
Donnie's
all there is
sister.
out there is at Dollar General. It's crazy.
Yeah. I was on the phone with who, Shannon?
With Donnie's sister. Sonia.
Oh, that's right.
So finally she got out and got in your car because she was hoping you were gonna let her drive.
Hell yeah, she would.
And then we ended up going and put her up in a hotel. The kicker to that, the part that I need everybody to pay very, very close attention to, because this was my downfall. This was my husband told me I was fucking stupid and I shouldn't have been there to begin with, and he was right. I was on the phone with Grandma. I was pulled up into the parking lot of the hotel.
Talk about it.
And Grandma told me that she thinks Donnie did it.
Talk about it.
And I said, why do you think Donnie did it? And she said, because I know my son-in-law. And I said, what do you mean you know your son-in-law? She said, I just do. And I'm like, okay. Well, at this point, my lips are numb.
And not from the cocaine.
No, I don't do cocaine.
I'm just
I never done.
So here, this woman is in town to be of aid to the Wells in searching for Summer. And Grandis has the opportunity to confide in this girl and says, I think Donnie did it. And there is text messages where I think she says something similar to that, if I remember correctly, where she pretty much does put the weight and blame on Donnie, which, you know, for a while I thought like, wow, you know, that's telling. But then now I'm like thinking like, well, of course, if you were involved, you'd kind of point the blame elsewhere. So it could go either way, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Done that shit the day of my life. And I said, well, what do you think happened? She said, I think he borrowed a truck from work, and that's where the red truck comes in. And I said, but why? She said, I don't know. I said, okay, well, if you think Donnie did it, do you think that Summer is going to be found? She said, no. And I said, do you think she's alive? And she said, no. And I lost my shit. I lost my fucking shit.
See, that's what I'm saying is I wouldn't want to heard that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a sleuth. You know?
So they carry on the dialogue from there, but yeah, what do you guys think about that? And Criminality said, but Candace stated Don was not home. Right. So how could he have, unless Don, okay, say she was injured or not? Because again, even though the polygraphs aren't admissible into court, like, it's interesting that she claims, and Sheriff Lawson said that she passed it, but then I don't know. Forget the polygraph in this thought process. Yeah, how could Grandis be saying that Don was the one that did it if Don's at work? So definitely don't put much weight into this at all, but that's interesting. So this was during the first Tennessee trip, like when all the protesters were down there. So that's the narrative that Grandis is giving somebody behind closed doors, like someone that they were thinking that they could trust. So it's very interesting. And let me skip 3 hours and 33 minutes in. But yeah, really interesting conversation, I will say. Like,
watching TV or whatever, right?
That's it. Hold on 1 second, guys.
oh yeah, here's where Candace.
Hello? What?
What the fuck did you want?
You called me.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I fucking didn't.
You called me at 9:13. I missed the call.
I ain't fucking called you at all.
You haven't fucking called me at all?
So, as many of you know, that's Candace. And again, the time that this took place, this little, Benny stopped their conversations, which, by the way, the whole thing that was strange to me was they were getting deep into theories. Like, they're like the fluid conversation that was taking place right before this distraction took place was really interesting. Like, I was just like listening to it and I'm like, interesting. Like, it definitely opened my mind to different possibilities. Even if I'm not agreeing with what they're saying, I'm using it still to kind of take my mind down certain avenues. But anyways, so they're in like this deep like theory of like an accident took place and this and that. And Candace calls and then he's calling her back and now she's denying calling them. It's just like games, more games. But it's like, why are you causing a distraction? Is it because they're on to something or you're just desperate for attention or both? It just goes back to like, I'm not even sitting here trying to talk about Candace like in a bad light just to talk crap. I'm doing it because her behavior is just very strange. From if you're saying she's innocent, this and that, like why this behavior is just very strange.
No, I'm in fucking bed. I ain't called you at all.
Like, you legit called me.
No, I fucking didn't.
Yeah, you did at 9:13.
No, I fucking didn't.
Candace, stop this. You called me at 9:13.
Why?
Yeah, so that looked like it was 10 minutes before this whole conversation. So if I went back in the live stream 10 minutes, it would show, I guess, what they were talking about. Should I do that right now and see? But I'm telling you, it was all theories of like an accident taking place. Do you want me to go back 10 minutes? Because it said she called at 10 or 9:13, and then he showed that they're talking at 9:24-ish. Am I looking at that right? Let me know what you guys think while I continue to play this.
Let me tell you what.
She probably doesn't remember calling you. I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
She had me blocked on both of my phones. She had me blocked because I tried to call her. Now all of a sudden I'm unblocked. And she's called me. What does that mean right there? Hold on, let me hit the missed calls. Okay, I missed a call from Candace Wells, but then she's in front of 2,180 people gonna come here and say that she didn't just fucking call me, but answer the phone when I call her back. When she had me blocked.
Okay, yeah, I'll go back. So she blocked him, unblocked him, calls him. He calls her back. She's saying, why the F are you calling me? Like, what?
I can't. Okay, so let's go back a little bit further just to be safe.
Hidden away from CPS. Does she plan on like getting Summer back once everything just dies down? Like, how long is that going to take? That doesn't seem feasible.
One of the theories that I heard was it sort of revolved around an injury, whether it be an injury due to SA or an injury due to rough and tumble play with the boys. But essentially, it's a situation where you have this fluke thing happen, or something that origins from neglect or irresponsibility. But you've got a wound now that you've got to
there's
let
no way to
heal.
cover it up. Right.
There's no way to cover it up. You've got to hide her away until it heals.
So why report her missing? Because look at all these other parents with missing kids that took months to report their kids missing. So if somebody were to come around, to make that story work, I'm of the opinion that if somebody were to come around, you would just simply be like, oh, well, she's with a relative, or she's with this person, and they, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Why would they think otherwise? Why would they think there's foul play? But
the way they were coming, I don't
went
think
and
they
reported her missing and brought all this heat on them. Because I mean, let's face it. The fact is that all the heat is on publicly. We have indication to think that it's coming from law enforcement too. But publicly, they have the most heat on them, and they've brought the most attention to themselves. Like, for that story to even work, you would not be doing what they're doing. You know what I mean?
No, you'd be hiding in the closet, not talking to anybody.
Right. Right. So I mean, yeah.
And what's the chances of that in between day? That's the day someone just gets hurt like that.
You know what I mean? I think there's the potential though, and I don't want to be biased, but I think with all the moving parts there, I think that any day someone could get hurt there in terms of a child. I don't think that there was any catalyst, or there didn't necessarily have to be a catalyst for
other than maybe not watching her for a second and
exactly.
some rusty, some iron, something.
Yeah, let's put it in retrospect, Benny. How many rusty nails and screws did you and I pick up at the base of those stairs to the entry point?
Over and like it was like he dumped a whole box of nails and was like, fuck it, and just kind of mashed them flat with the dirt. There's fucking nails of all trim nails, framing nails everywhere, right in front of the door, bro.
That right there is enough for CPS to go. What have these kids had tetanus shots? No,
bro.
Okay, we're taking them. You know what I mean?
How bad is the backfall on the backside of that house, Dennis? Like, could she have wandered out for a split second and fall straight down the backside of that house? That Don would have to climb like the back porch or something.
No, it's there. I
mean,
you
got a couple feet.
It's a grade.
It's a grade, like from the bathroom, which is at the back of the house. From like, if you were to go out the window and fall down, you're looking at like 8 or 9 feet, sir.
Oh, I heard 50. Yes, sir.
No, I mean it's roughly 8 to 10 feet. So it is a substantial drop off, but like
it's not going to be something that's not going to leave evidence, and she could walk straight.
She wouldn't be able to get to that window in the bathroom anyway. It's up too high.
That's what. Yeah, that, and there's a mirror that's like fastened in front of the window. But that someone brought up again, and it was just sort of a timing thing. But they brought up last night the whole swing thing again, and it's like that seems to be an activity that the girl could have been involved in with a brother or something. Where I rode the swing, and I'm telling you what, like the swing is high.
You saw the tree? Is she in the tree climbing? Go ahead and bypass the swing and climb up that rope. That's my next thing.
No, there's no way up that tree. That tree is huge.
It's huge. Yes, you say that Summer would have to have help from an adult to get on the swing?
Well, so that's the thing. I want to say yes, because it was, for me to just jump on the swing, it was like, oh, okay, hold on. But it was my first time on the swing. So,
and I'm only 5'3", and that swing
it was tall, bro.
Little bottom would have sat, would have been right at my waist.
It reminds you that she would have potentially needed some help getting on the swing. She could have done it by herself. It seems like.
Okay. Ooh. So, I mean, by that definition, by that description,
even the swing would think
it could be safe to assume that if she fell off, she could be subject to a serious injury.
I mean, look at this. Look how high, look at that, bro. From the ground to the top of the pendulum, you're way up there, dude. 12, 15 feet.
That doesn't look that high.
I'm a whole adult and I couldn't get my ass out of it.
She would fall backwards and hit the back of her.
Well, I thought you meant standing still, like hanging still off the branch. It was high off the ground. But I mean, obviously you can swing high on it. Sure. I thought that you meant just it
Even climbing
regularly
up.
hanging off of the branch, that it was already really high up and that she would actually need help to get on the swing or get off the swing.
Well, I believe there's a potential she may have needed help getting on the swing. I mean, it was like, I don't remember what she said.
She's still small, sure.
Yeah.
But for logistic reasons, not because it was just physically too high for her, maybe. But I mean, we see her and she's kind of a tomboy. When we see her swing on the swing, she's standing on it, isn't she?
I don't remember seeing one standing, but it may have. Not to say that there isn't.
I'm not sure either. I'm just
from the bottom of the swing, it may not. It's not quite 15 feet, but it's a good 9 to 11 feet. I mean, it's. I don't care who you are. If you fell off that swing, now imagine you had somebody pushing you, giving you some steam.
So I think it's safe to say, because the minute mark that I started where he said she had called and it was 10 minutes prior to him calling her, I'd say she called right when they started talking about an accident at home, whether it was an SA accident, the nails, like some sort of accident at the swing, which I think are all really high possibilities. But yeah, then she goes into this whole like, I didn't call you type thing. It's like, what? So yeah, what do you guys think about her fake saying she didn't know, or she didn't call him even though she clearly did? I mean, that's the length that Candace is going to go to lie. Why'd you call me? I didn't. But it says here you did call me. Like, that is just like, it's like she doubles down. Hi, Lisa. I think Candace lies more than she speaks truth. Yeah, I think she's just never going to change from the script. But yeah, that pretty much is everything that I had to like conclude with. There's more in my notes, but I have a feeling like we could be here all day just talking about the mystery surrounding this case. And I hope that we get more answers, or, you know, maybe something that we can actually have to stick them with charges for. But I'll be patient as long as I need to, like we had said earlier with the West Boys and other cases where it's taken time to charge whatever. We want it to be solid for court. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even about proving where Summer is. Like, it's deeper than saying and proving, finding Summer. Like, it's more than that. Like, it's about having something that's solid where 12 jurors are going to be like, okay, yeah, and hold people accountable for what happened here, because something is not right. And I think everyone can agree there. But that pretty much concludes everything that I had. And I really appreciate CDT coming on, and I appreciate everybody in chat. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your theories and opinions. And it definitely makes me think and want to expand my theories also, because everything is still up on the table. There are things on my list that are higher and lower than others, but I just still feel like we still can't say for sure that we know exactly what happened or where she is. I mean, obviously we don't know that, but you know, and the district attorney is pretty much saying like, bring me something more. So I hope that they have another search involved scheduled soon. And if not, maybe EquiSearch can get back down there. But I don't know. I really don't know. She's so tiny, and let's face it, right now it would be remains, and I just don't know. But thank you so much for being here, guys. And tonight I will be concluding my listen and react to Chris Watts' prison interview, because it was like a 3-year later anniversary of him being in prison and doing that interview. So it's taken a few parts, as it was 4 hours long. So we'll be doing that at 8 p.m., the final segment. So thank you so much, guys, and talk to you guys soon.